All right, I think this thing is started. I will check here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Looking good. Think that's what we want. These live streams are always so much fun to get started. And I just want to take a look at this. I'll see it in 1 minute. Yep, there I am. All right. Hey, it's working. All right. Cool. All right. Hey, folks, this is Gene from Regular Guy Mountain Biking. And we're going to be talking about Insta360 ONE X 360-degree camera. My buddy Trail Features is going to be on in just a minute, so we'll get him on the air. And we're going to wait for some people to join in here on the chat. And that's what we are going to be doing. So when we get some people online, I'll make sure you all can hear me, which is it's always a good thing, right? Making sure you can hear me. And we'll take it from there. All right. So hang tight. We'll get this thing going in just a minute. Yeah, I like that idea. Make sure this is all coming through. Get everything going here. Checking my email, making sure I see that the notification went out that, yep, Regular Guy Mountain Biking's live. Okay, that's a good sign. All right, we got some guys jumping in here. We got Bike Canic, Bikecanic, got it. Like mechanic, Bikecanic, got it. All right. Hey there, Mr. Bikecanic, can you hear me? Right, just making sure. Is this thing on? Can you hear me on there? Hoping so. That'll be a good thing. If I get a little okay on the bike chat over here, that'll be good. Yep. All right. What's up? What's up, Gene? I can hear you fine. It's always a good sign, folks, because if you can't hear me, the show kind of blows. Ah, look at that. We got Mr. Trail Features on there. Mr. Joseph.
I'm actually trying to get some things dialed in, so I'm being fashionably late to this.
That's okay. That's all right, man. You know, a big headliner like you, you know, we gotta chill out a little bit and take our time.
I wouldn't call myself a headliner, but I appreciate the compliment.
All right, let me pop out the chat over here so I can minimize that other window so it doesn't get all screwed up. All right. All right, folks, once again, this is Gene from Regular Guy Mountain Biking. Thanks for tuning in to Bike Chat. This is the podcast / VCast, I guess is what we call it as well. All right, because I take these and I extract the audio out of these and send it up to Mountain Bike Radio, where I have a Regular Guy Mountain Biking podcast. So you could be very likely listening to this right now over there. Okay. And today's show is all about 360-degree cameras. And though we are a very much mountain bike channel, we like to record what we do, right? And these 360-degree cameras are just coming up more and more. We're always using our action cameras to record things, but we're really getting into 360 video because it's just something cool to play with. So we're going to be talking about that. And I thought no other than Joseph, Mr. Trail Features himself, to have on air, because he does a pretty darn good job when it comes down to breaking down technology, whether that's video or audio. All right. And we're going to give it a whirl. All right. And Mike Likes Trails, aka Barbecue Mike, wants to know about 520-degree video. Really big SD card. We'll have to work on that. There we go. Worldwide Cycle, he's on the air. Love it, love it, love it. You guys rock. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for supporting me, guys. You always support my YouTube videos. You're always commenting there. I always see you commenting on my Instagram posts. So Worldwide Cyclery, thanks a lot for always supporting the channel. You guys rock. All right. So cool. What are we testing over there, Mr. Trail Features? Are you still around over there? Are you pushing buttons?
I'm breaking the internet right now. I'm getting all sorts of complicated over here.
Wow, your head was huge when you just kind of tuned in over there. So I'm not sure if you want us to look inside your brain or not, but we're if you're listening on the podcast right now, I can actually see inside Joseph's pupils.
There we go. Okay, finally.
There it is. There he is. You good-looking guy, you.
Yeah. This is what happens when you overcomplicate the simplest things.
Hey, we're talking about 360-degree video, dude. All right. They're talking about overcomplicating. People used to just take little, you know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think if people, really knew what was happening inside those cameras, they'd be a lot more impressed on how far we've come in these things, because it used to be like you had to hand stitch all the stuff. It didn't just come out of the camera that way.
Yeah.
And you needed a beefy computer to be able to do it. I've tried to do it by hand, and I don't even hate myself that much.
Oh, man. Well, look, folks, let me explain to you a little bit where we're coming from and what's going on over here right now. So for mountain biking, besides getting cool shots, okay, with, going around and doing Tiny Planet and stuff like that, these new 360 cameras also introduce a level of stabilization. Okay, it's another big, huge thing that these cameras bring to the party. Okay, and I'll be honest, probably one of the biggest reasons why I started looking into these cameras is not because of the 360, it's because of the stabilization that they come along with, and we'll talk more about that on the show. But before we even do that, wait a second. We got Trail Features on here. Let me have him introduce himself and say hello. I forgot. We're kind of starting a little bumbly over here, but it's going to get real good. Let me tell you guys, don't go any. This show is going to get real good, real good. So just go ahead, man.
Yeah, sorry about the bumbliness. That was my bad. I came in late and underprepared. But if you have not subscribed to my channel, basically what I'm all about is kind of more of the cinematic side of mountain bike stuff. I do a little bit of POV, but there's a lot of third person thrown in there. And lately I've been getting on a kick of more budget conscious bikes, and also kind of tutorials. I'm actually working on a tutorial that should actually be out this weekend for how to get the best audio out of the Hero 7 Black, which is simple but also complicated depending on how down the rabbit hole you want to go.
And that's one of the reasons why I was looking forward to having this show tonight with my buddy, because look, I'll be honest, I got a ton of these cameras, and you know what I know how to do with all of them? Push the record button. I mean, I'm really good at pushing the record button. Other than that, they get pretty complicated, but Joseph can get down into the nitty-gritty. So what I figured is we would handle this show in multiple ways. First of all, I just want to talk about 360 cameras. I am a little biased to Insta360. I'm on their ambassador program, but to be honest, I'm not on their ambassador program because they just gave me a free camera, because I'm going to do a show later on about what's been going on with me and good stuff, but it's been getting pretty busy. So I didn't need any extra work, I'll be honest with you. So I got on this program with them because they make a freaking good camera. It's really a good quality camera at a good price. And I'm very happy to be using their camera. But that being said, it doesn't make taking footage any less complicated. There's more to it. So it's pretty cool, but it's a little bit more to do. So Joseph, 360 cameras, what are you thinking about them? Why are you getting into them? What's the benefit about even messing with these? Do you have a favorite? And what are you doing with these cameras? Again, why I wanted to have you on the show, because like you said, you're into more of the cinematic look. So are these helping you do that? That type of stuff.
That's a really great question. And actually, I kind of put out a poll on my Instagram story asking people to submit questions. And one of the questions was quite simply, is it actually something worth buying, or is it more of just kind of a hipster accessory to make cool, trendy stuff on social media? And I was actually happy that someone kind of made a pointed question like that, because I was actually kind of a skeptic when I first saw 360 camera show up. If we go back to before Rilo kind of rewrote the script, there were 360 cameras, but they were clunky. Usually they just took photographs. If they took video, it was so low res, it was almost hysterical. They broke. They had terrible interfaces, and it just wasn't worth it. And you get a lot of distortion from these things because of the wide lenses. So after a while, the Rilo came out, and a lot of people started taking notice. And I mean, we all saw when Trail Peak put that video up on Instagram of him putting it on his hip, which is why I started the hashtag the Trail Peak, because I call that camera angle the Trail Peak, because they were really the ones that capitalized that view. It kind of changed my mind of like, okay, this is a storytelling tool, because every camera you own is just a tool to tell the story, and you need the right tool for the right job. A 360 camera has the ability of capturing different perspectives than what we're used to, and really kind of just setting down the camera. You can do one of two things. You can set down the camera and just go, which is what a lot of people love about it, because you can reframe it later, or it allows you to put the camera in a very specific spot and be able to get this very unique perspective that you couldn't do with any other camera. So I'm really excited for what 360 has to offer in the next couple of years.
Besides the fact that, again, I'm talking about stabilization. I don't have to ride with the gimbal really anymore. The new GoPro 7 has also helped me quite a bit with that. So, look, everybody has their opinions. I don't want to say right or wrong or whatever. I'm just going to personally tell you that now that the GoPro 7 has come out, I very rarely, if ever, use my gimbal anymore. So that being said, stabilization, maybe not the biggest thing now, though I have to say, again, I'm really going to do the best. I'm going to say it one last time just so I can get it on air and you hear. Yes, I am a little biased to Insta360, but I'm going to tell you that their stabilization is just sick, and it really makes some great footage. But what I'm starting to really enjoy is the other shots I get. So when I record with this thing, okay, here's my folks on the podcast. Sorry about that, but just picture me holding up a camera in front of you that you can't see. But when you're holding this camera in the air and you're recording, what I love about using the 360 camera is the extra footage I didn't realize I got, right? The guy behind me waving that I didn't know was waving, or just the mountain scenery that I didn't see that was just cool. So all of a sudden you've got 360 degrees worth of footage to scrub through. Now, that being said, I'm going to hand it back to you again, Joseph, because I'd like to hear about the editing portion of this, because now you've got a buttload more of video to contend with.
Yeah. So that old saying, there's no such thing as a free puppy?
Yeah.
You get a free puppy, and then all the real expenses come into play. 360 footage definitely does have a penalty on it. By the way, I also want to point out, I am too also an ambassador for Insta360. One of the reasons why I became an ambassador is because of the fact that I had been using their cameras before, and I really wanted to be able to have better input. So when they asked me if I would be willing to become an ambassador, one of the caveats was that I got to speak my mind, whether it was to the viewers or to them. Because if anyone's followed me on Instagram, you know that I can just rant about cameras. Because if someone's trying to pull some marketing bullcrap, I will call them out on it right away. So with that being said, editing, it is a challenge, because quite honestly, this is all new for everyone.
Yeah.
You have all this footage that you have to pour through. I mean, it was hard enough going through a 4-hour ride with just the GoPro pointed forward and trying to pick out all the good stuff. Now you have literally everything. So like, you kind of have to watch it in that weird unstitched mode where like it's just flat across the screen.
Yes, I've done that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So you can at least like see like, okay, did someone wave at me, and then mentally think about that.
Yeah.
But the trade-off is you have such a powerful storytelling experience, because it's almost like having, some people like to put the camera on top of their helmet because then you can see everything. Sometimes I put the 360 camera on my handlebar. That way, like, I have my main POV camera, in that classic kind of GoPro look. But then the 360 camera is like, it can look at me, so I'm talking to the camera, or I can be like, oh, look at that over there, and I can turn the camera to
Have
the
it zoomed
side.
over. Yep.
So it does, depending on the type of camera you get, it can be pretty taxing. I will say this, one of the reasons why I've been such a big fan of Insta360 is because they started out with pro level 360 cameras first. And then they started getting into the consumer side. And this, the Insta360 ONE X is kind of starting to get towards prosumer. I would like for them to make one notch above this, you know, smaller than their, I forget what type it is, but it's basically the size of a small bowling ball. It is not a cheap or small product. But I would like to see them make something that kind of bridges the gap between this and that, because this is great for 90% of the people out there.
Right.
But someone like me who runs around with GH5s and, you know, a Fuji X3, I want that little bit extra. So yeah, the editing is actually pretty lightweight, and they have a lot of plugins, and their studio is pretty feature rich. They have a desktop app, which other companies have just now started to bring that out, and it's kind of glitchy.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Hey, folks, before we go too much further, I was waiting for this. I was hoping my buddy was going to jump on over here. I'm not going to say anything, but if you are listening to this on the podcast, you already heard this music. But if you're here right now, you did not. So 1 second. Here you go. Hopefully you guys can hear this. I'm going to give this a shot and see if this works.
I don't hear anything.
All right, folks, listen to this.
Hey, Gene?
Yeah?
I don't hear any music.
You didn't hear any music?
That was entertaining as all get out, but I hate to ruin Christmas, but I didn't hear any music.
Oh, you didn't hear any music? Honest? You're kidding me. Okay,
No.
What did I do wrong with? Oh, damn, I got to click another button. Okay, well, I'm going to do this. Okay, wait a second. I'll just do it this way. So the heck with it. I'm going to do it this way then. I'm going to go and turn up this, and now you can hear it. All right, I'll just do it this way because you have to hear this. Here we go. All right.
Yep, I can hear it. And copyright strike.
Did that work?
Yes, that worked.
All right. Okay. So, why did I do that? First of all, that is produced, created, recorded by Regular Guy Mountain Biking very own Rob the Rockstar from the Meetup group. And he's on the chat right now. Rob Sani MTB. Here's the deal. And we're going to go right back to the camera stuff again, but I wanted to do this publicly because I haven't actually gotten to thank him. I've been thanking him constantly over email and otherwise, but I wanted to actually do it publicly because I don't think he realizes how important and how much I really love that. I wanted to get some new theme music, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind putting something together for me. And he said, yeah, dude, I actually have a kind of something in my head right now I want to do. Let me take a stab at it. So he's got a metal band. I was a little nervous because, I mean, it's Regular Guy Mountain Biking. I don't want, like, skulls and stuff. And, it's a family channel. He comes back with that. And I'm just like, dude, that's freaking, like, he knocked it out of the park. I love it. And I just keep on listening to it all the time and everything like that. So I just want to, again, if you heard this on the podcast, this is going to be the intro music on my podcasts. It's also the outro music on the end of all my videos. And he also made it a smaller piece of that for the intro or for my bumper. So anyway, I just, again, not 360-degree camera topic at all, but I wanted to take the opportunity to thank Rob for recording that music for me. It means the world to me, and I will very much use it. And I thank you very much for doing that for me, buddy. And it's awesome. I mean, like I said, here it is. It's so awesome, and I love it. So thanks so much, buddy. I really appreciate it. All right.
Pretty rad.
It's even better when you can hear it and not just see me banging my head. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch this video. There's going to be 20 seconds of me going like this, and you guys like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Poor Gene.
I thought you were working on your Andy Kaufman routine and like, you know, trying to Emperor's New Clothes this or something like that.
Anyway, all right. Look, we'll go back to the cameras now. So, all right. So, part of the deal is this, my friends. Let's start with this stabilization, because Manny had a question on that. And then I want to go into what I've been liking about the cameras, what I also don't, okay, the challenges I'm having, and also very much, I think, why is this even a regular guy thing? Or maybe it's not. We got a bunch of topics I want to cover because they're a lot of fun. But first thing, stabilization. All right. I can speak for the Insta360 cameras compared to the GoPro cameras, and then everything I say that's wrong, Joseph's going to correct. So here is the deal. These cameras, I have two of these. I have the original Insta360 ONE camera, and this is the X. Both of these, the way they work is they actually have gyros inside of them. Okay. And what they're doing is they're actually calculating what's going on. They're not technically stabilizing anything yet. They're just calculating where the motion is happening and what's going on and recording all of that data. Then you take the footage with that information and you process that in the editing software, whether that's on your phone or that's on the desktop, and it's called flow state. That's their claim to fame name for it. So for these 360 cameras, Manny, the reason why I feel these are better is they're not trying to compensate and fix it with taking the video, which is wider, and scrunching it down and taking the sum of the goodness out of it and giving you that. They're doing the best they can to stabilize it. And the difference with the GoPro cameras, though they're doing so much better now, is it is more software-based stabilization, but it is done on the camera opposed to having to process it later on. Joseph, please fill in all the gaps that I was incorrect about.
No, you're actually pretty right on, because it really is like in the name, 360 cameras record in a sphere. And if you always know which way is up, then it's pretty easy to, instead of that footage moving around, you just kind of keep it stationary. And it basically just kind of crops in. Now, where the GoPro kind of has limitations is it's only working with so much image, so it has to crop in on that image, and eventually it's going to bump into the sides, where the 360 camera can just keep rotating. And so that is called digital image stabilization, because it's all software based. It's done digitally. Now, the problem with digital stabilization is same thing on the GoPro as 360 cameras. As soon as you start running into low light situations, you will start to run into a little bit of motion blur. And you get that, what I like to call Fight Club look. Like, you remember that scene where he's like, "You're not your khakis," and like the camera shaking around? They did that on purpose because they like used a very slow shutter speed and shook the camera, and then digitally went back in and stabilized it. So his face looked all blurry, but it's always perfectly framed in the shot.
Gotcha. And that brings up a good point. That it is done differently, but it is using the stabilization to help with that. And something that Rob just brought up, the GoPro, though the latest firmware I've seen and heard and tested has helped with this. Low light was affecting the stabilization on these, but the 360 cameras, the light really wouldn't affect anything but the video quality, because it's recording the gyro, right? It's going to help it's going to stabilize that. Now, if it's fuzzy and is low light, that's now a different topic. But with the GoPro camera, what was going on was it was having a tough time trying to decipher what was straight and not bouncing, and what was, because it was the low light was making too much stuff fuzzy.
So here's the problem. What GoPro essentially did was they kind of tweaked the camera settings so that way it would force a higher shutter speed. And what a shutter speed is on the camera, in a classic photography stance, you press the shutter button and a shutter actually comes down and opens for a set amount of time and then closes. A video camera does that digitally by just kind of scanning across the sensor, but the concept is the same. The lower the number is on the shutter, the longer it is it's open because it's measured in tenths of a second. The longer it's open, the more that light is going to paint across that sensor, whereas a faster shutter speed, you kind of lock that moment in time. So with 360 cameras, it will stabilize it, but it'll get really soupy and blurry and mushy, just like it does on the GoPro. What they did on the GoPro was basically tweak the settings so it kept a higher shutter speed and boost a little bit of sensitivity to try to prevent that blurriness.
Gotcha. Well, that helps explain it quite a bit. I mean, I have to admit, though, there is a downside sometimes, and I'll be happy to show that to you right here. If I click the right button, I think it's going to be this button. If I click on share and go like this. Now, here's one of the downsides. This camera ain't little. And the original camera, the original one, that one was designed to be a little smaller. That's why the lenses were offset, because they were trying to keep it smaller. This camera has numerous benefits over the original one, but it is sizable, right? And as you can see, I do look a bit like a unicorn. There's other phrases that people use for this, and I'm not going to say on this right now. But regardless, it's a lot. Now, the reason why you see the wire on it is because currently, I'll be honest, one of the things is same thing with Joseph. I'm not just going to always just sit here and kiss the ring. The battery life in this thing is not good. All right. And I've been affected by that. So this is actually an external battery pack I have to keep on this thing to keep this thing going, because it's winter and the batteries are just dying way too fast. So that's a little bit of a bugger. Yeah.
I don't think you're actually sharing, because I'm watching the YouTube stream and it was stuck on me.
I don't know what the hell's going on, man. Really? If I click on, folks, did you see me or did you see Joseph? Can you tell me in the chat?
I'm watching the YouTube stream on a second monitor, and yeah, it was basically
camera didn't switch to Gene, so you didn't see. I don't know what the hell. Technically, I'm just I'm clicking on it right now. If I click on this thing and I go share, yeah, no Gene currently. Okay, Joseph. Look, if I click on this right now, I'm gonna click on application and do it this way. Now you got to be seeing it, right? Now you seeing it? Yeah, you got to be seeing it because I see it in the little window over here. Oh, wait. Now you're seeing it.
Nope.
You present to everyone.
There it is. Okay, now it's showing.
Okay, come on. Come on, folks. Tell me you're seeing this thing now. I'm clicking all kinds of buttons. I'm clicking every button I can find over here. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm glad I don't have to go back and edit these things, because to hell with this. Anyway, here you go. Now you can take a look and see this thing. And as you can see, it is a bit on the big side over here, okay? And there is the cord I was talking about that's going to be hanging off the side over there. So, look, this is not like a little GoPro that you're going to hang from your chin or hang from the top of your camera or place on the top of your camera, because it is a bigger camera. And that is something to think about when you're looking to use some of these things. Let me go and turn that thing off over there and go back to just regular old me, and click on the cancel that. It should just be on me now, and I'm going to go and See if I can turn the sharing off. I'm going to try that now.
So let me see if it automatically switches over to me by talking for a second.
There you go. I clicked on you. It should be back on you now. All right. Holy crap, that thing is big. That's what she said, Manny. All right.
All right. So I do want to point out something here. I agree that I was a little bit disappointed when I saw the form factor. I kind of know why they did it. Because here's the thing. This camera here is kind of a 360 camera for everyone.
Yeah.
This camera here is a action 360 camera. It is much heftier and a little bit stouter. So they basically had to decide between a sleek form factor, or that's something you can hold in your hands, versus something that can take a few impacts. And, we'll talk about the lenses in a second because that's another topic. But I have to say, like, if I had to choose between having this put on my helmet all day and this put on my helmet all day, because hang on, let me find a safe place to put this down. This thing right here, hang on, that's metal. That's a metal part. The Fusion is very hefty. So is the Garmin 360. So, 360 cameras have to do a ton of work. And part of that is going to draw battery. So you have to make sure you have a good battery in there. And the other half is that processor is working to the bone to make sure that everything is stitched together correctly. It's like I said, if you understood like really the process of stitching together 360 footage and how much work it used to be, this is amazing.
Yeah, it is. Well, let's do this now. We talked about the nerdy part about this whole thing over here. And Joseph, you can see me now, right? Everything's working. Like you said, yeah. Mike is like, it's going to be a great pod. Exactly, Mike. It's going to be a much better podcast than VCast over here because I'm pushing all the wrong buttons. Anyway, but let's put this into our world. Okay, we talk tech, we talk some nerd. We can still do that more. Why are we even looking into it? So for mountain biking, one of the things that I've done frequently, and you can see how technically, of a screw up I am with some of this stuff. I've had the camera point too low on my chest, and I've gotten lots of pictures of my knees. Okay. Or when I go down and I record something and I go down a slope. Okay. And all of a sudden, when I go down a slope, the camera follows me and it doesn't, because I'm not using a gimbal, and I just see nothing going. I get better chances of getting the shot because of the 360, besides the fact that I get a lot of other good shots with the camera. The other thing is the creative side. You also can take pictures from the video. So you can do something cool where like you go off a jump and do like a matrix thing where you can kind of stop in the air and then take that video and kind of spin around in a circle and then kind of come back and land. And you're doing that all with one camera. So if you are going to buy just one camera and you want to be a little creative, okay, look, if you just want to take straight up simple footage and just, go to town, go for it, because this does take a little bit more work. But if you want to get a little more creative and still have your regular, point and shoot type of video footage, this is something to really think about because you get so much more than just the regular straight out footage.
I was fiddling with my microphone. I definitely agree. And as I was saying before, this is a whole new ball game. Seth kind of started playing with 360 cameras when I don't know if GoPro sent it to him. I can't remember. He got the GoPro Fusion and he started playing with it. And that was when he was like, holy crap, this thing is a beast and it's really awesome, but it's a beast. Rilo was the big name because, like you said, you can just put it on and go. The thing about the Insta360 is that it's $100 cheaper and it has those slow-mo capabilities, 100 frames per second, which I played around with. I put it on my dog and I was able to really play around with making this cool video that actually, hang on, I will actually see if I can try and bring it in here for a second, but while I'm talking about that, I'll
Well, at
try
this
to
point, I've set the bar so low. I've set the bar so technically low that I think you'll have good success with this. Yeah. Well, while he's getting ready and get that going, some of the other things that I do like, if you're not gonna create a YouTube channel or do lots of footage and lots of longer video, and you just want to record and put some cool stuff on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, then these cameras are freaking awesome, because especially the Insta360 cameras, because the apps that they have are just sick. I mean, they have so many cool features in the app that you can do all kinds of fun things with them, and it's a lot better than what I've seen with some of the other tools.
I think for some reason it's stuck on me again.
Yeah, I know. I left it on you purposely because I didn't want to. If you had something working, I didn't want to switch it and then screw it up on you.
Okay, so since I'm the center of attention for a second, let me play something that hopefully should work. Let me just switch out of studio mode and press go. Oh, hang on. I'll have to fix that. It's not set up correctly. That's what I get for trying to complicate things.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the questions that came up that you might be able to help me with as well is Manny was also asking about the video quality. So the question was basically, is the video quality going to ever get as good as the GoPro cameras and the other Insta, the other action cameras? And I've got to say that this new one, the X at 5.7K, produces some pretty damn good quality. Now, my last video I put up is not a good example of that, and that's mainly because of the fact that I have a lot to learn when it comes to the editing and getting it up on social media. So those are two different things. Editing it and making it look good on the editor, and editing it properly to put it on YouTube, are not the same. Because I took a look at this other dude's video on the Insta360. They have a little private Facebook forum thing for us little nerdy folks. And I'm looking at this guy's footage, and it's like crystal clear, Manny. I mean, Manny, it is as good as the GoPro. And I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell am I doing wrong? Because his footage was so clean and so crisp. I just didn't know what I did wrong, and I have to figure this out.
So there's a couple things, and I'll actually speak to that because the desktop software that Insta360 has is really good. And there's kind of some hidden features in there for people that are willing to kind of poke around in the menu, and that allows you to export things at a much higher quality. Once you've exported it, you can actually use they're working on kind of their own plugins for Premiere right now, I think. They're still kind of in alpha. They haven't released them to the public at all in beta form. Mm-hmm. But the GoPro Fusion Adobe plugin will actually work with the Insta360 if you export 360 video out.
Oh.
And that was actually how I created this. And hopefully it should be ready to actually start working. I don't know if the audio will play, but you should at least be able to see the video.
If it doesn't, don't dance. I don't hear anything, but it looks real good. Ball just got thrown. Dogs are running. Oh, he got the slow-mo going. So, folks, he's got the slow-mo going. So that means this is not even at the highest video quality that it could be right now. The slow-mo is at 4. Well, the real slow-mo is at 3. What is this at right now, Joseph?
I actually think it's playing audio out. I'm not sure. Hopefully people will be able to tell me if there's actually audio playing.
No, looks like there was no audio. There's no audio. There's just a dog. So folks, if you listen to the podcast, you just saw there's just a bunch of dogs on the screen, and it looked real cool.
So I added in like sound effects like heartbeats and stuff like that. But yeah, that was the 100 frames per second, and I think that's like 2K, 2 point something K. That does not have the best quality compared to the 5.7 that it has.
Right.
And if you were to edit this in Adobe with the 5.7, you could even add a little bit of sharpening.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of it does come with experience, but the thing is like, yes, I'm doing all these advanced techniques. 90% of the stuff you can do in like the phone app. They have
Yeah.
slow-mo, they have reframe, they have that stuff. So like you can create stuff like that to put on your social media page or share with friends or family or maybe start a YouTube channel. This is what I like to call something that has the ability for you to grow into.
Mhm.
Like applications that have very user-friendly interfaces, but when you start learning how to use the advanced features, you get to grow into those features.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And my buddy Mike Likes Trails, Barbecue Mike, he picked up one of these as well. I'm also interested to see what he does with it. He's also very good with the cameras and getting some pretty creative shots. And I think that's really where this is going to kind of kick in, is the creativity end of the camera. And one of the other reasons why I will continue to push the Insta360 ONE X is because the Insta360 ONE, their, I don't want to call it the first one, but an earlier model, it definitely had some things that I felt were missing. Interchangeable batteries, no display, and I still even really liked the camera, but it had some stuff that was missing. The X has all that now: replaceable battery, nice display. So now I think that I've truly got a camera that I'm going to be sticking with and I can learn with. Now, there's always going to be something better. I mean, if I watch this video a year from now, I'm going to be saying, I don't know what the hell I was talking about. The XX is so much better. But really, this thing has everything you need to go crazy now and create some phenomenal footage. And I just think if you want to get into 360 video, I personally don't think there's a better camera out there right now, unless you want to go a little crazier. The GoPro version, rather big, rather pricey, rather bulky. This thing does just stick in your pocket and does some crazy fun stuff. And I've seen a lot of other YouTube channels, a lot of guys that I follow that aren't even into mountain biking, just covering different tech. And this camera is getting a lot of press, getting a lot of love right now.
Definitely. And you know what? I actually did want to give a little bit of fairness because, as I said, when I talked to Insta360, like if there are things that I genuinely have grievances with, I'm going to point them out. Right now, the battery life on the camera is not that great in the cold. Now, to be fair,
Right.
most any lithium ion battery, when you take it into 10-degree weather, the batteries aren't going to last that long. Like BKXC, I was actually chatting with BKXC because he had more experience with cold weather recording than I had, because I really started my YouTube channel when I was in Austin and it never gets below 30.
Good point.
So, I go riding here in Colorado in like 10-degree weather, and GoPros will last maybe like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So the Insta360, the current battery that they have in it, does not like the cold. It'll last maybe like 20 minutes, whereas normally it'll get like an hour of battery life. They are working on a more cold resistant battery, so I would encourage them to get that out. The application, the iPhone application is bulletproof, but almost every iPhone application is, because it's really simple to design for. Currently, there are some gotchas with the app to connect it into an Android phone.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple works around. The nice thing is, though, here's one thing that I will give them credit on. They include all the cables to connect to any device. So whether it's Lightning for the iPhone, USB-C for most modern Android phones, and they also include a mini USB for older devices. So if you do run into issues tethering it over Wi-Fi, it'll actually connect in to the mobile app via the USB cable, which honestly I'd recommend anyways if you're transferring files, because it's much faster and saves the battery life.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about the ONE X rather. The connectivity to the phones is a lot. I've got this on the video I did a little while ago about kind of unboxing it and going through all the stuff with this camera. The connectivity to other devices is much better. With the last camera, you kind of had to pick: is it going to be Apple? Is it going to be Android? This one, you can connect to either one. In fact, today I was working on Android, then I wanted to use it on my my iOS, my iPhone, because there's some new features in that app that aren't in the Android-based phone. So I've got both phones to mess with, and I just switched on the camera what phone I was going to be talking to, and I was able to just go to town. So it works great. The one thing I would like to see is to have their desktop app kind of get a little bit better, but I don't know. I kind of got mixed opinions on that, because here's the deal. The GoPro desktop app for just their regular GoPro cameras, I think, is pretty miserable, but I never use it because I always just take that footage and just bring it into Final Cut Pro. I didn't really care. I never needed that app. Now I kind of need the Insta360 desktop app, because you have to process the video first before you can bring it into something else. And that is one extra step you have to take. So I wish their app maybe was a little bit better, or they kicked up the speed with the plugins for other tools like Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, so here's the thing. The Insta360 ONE, not the ONE X, but the previous one, it actually had a pretty darn good desktop app. There were a couple things missing, like the lock feature, where like it always maintained orientation forward. So great for mountain biking, great for skiing, snowboarding, stuff like that, where you're turning, but you want it to follow your point of view. The current desktop app, they are working pretty darn hard on to get it dialed into where the old app used to be, and then forward. And they do have that orientation lock already built in. They've added in a bunch of new features. They're working on getting the efficiency of the desktop app, because that was one of the big things that people harped on the Fusion about when it first came out, was the desktop app was horribly optimized. They've done a lot of work lately to get it much better. What was I going to say? There was another thing that I wanted to mention that you brought up. I forgot it, but I wanted to kind of flip over to the chat if we could for a second.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple questions. Let's see. Most people are asking about the audio.
Yeah.
And I will say this. The audio is pretty decent. Now, it's not as good as the Hero 4. The Hero 4 has been and still is the gold standard on POV footage audio. It has yet to be beat by any action cam I've used.
Agreed.
Now, the Insta360, hopefully I can hold this up just right. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus on not my face for a second. Come on, buddy. Focus, you fact. There we go. And there on the top is the microphone. Bring it right there. There you go. These little holes right here are the microphone for the Insta360 ONE X. Now, the nice thing about that is I've been able to get dead cats up on this guy. So it does help with the wind noise, because that's a big problem with a lot of other 360 cameras, is that they put the microphones right next to the lens, and that's the worst place for it. Like, that has caused so many issues for so many 360 cameras, because if you put anything next to that lens, it's like, blinders. You just can't see. So I've actually been able to get some pretty darn good audio out of this guy.
I got to try the dead cat idea, like you said, on mine, because I don't have one, and I get some pretty good wind noise on this thing. It's pretty abrupt.
Yeah, you do need to trim it up a little bit. Like, we're talking about the little circle patches. It's this type of material. This is dead cat material. It's kind of this fluffy, fuzzy. Come on, focus. Okay, there you go. It's this fluffy material, and you can buy little patches of it and stick it on with double-sided tape. Now, you can just trim it down to be more of a little bit of a rectangle, so that way it doesn't drape over, and it actually gives pretty good audio. I have given some feedback to Insta360 saying, look, the audio is pretty good, but it could be a lot better, and you should be aiming for the Hero 4 as far as quality. Like, put the Hero 4 next to the Insta360, record it, and just keep tweaking it until it sounds as close to possible to that. Because I've done a lot of blind study tests with my followers on my channel and my Instagram, comparing different things to the Hero 4. Every single time they can pick out the Hero 4. They just prefer it every single time.
Well, the other tough part, too, is that just so you guys know, too, these cameras are certainly more sensitive physically than the GoPros. Okay, I mean, you really need to have the plastic case for this thing that they don't have out yet. So I'll show you the one for the One, and this is what I use to cover this thing. Now I have my Hero Session. This thing has literally fallen off my bike and bounced down the trail multiple times. Like, I've seen it. Like there's not even a slight exaggeration. It fell off the fork and just no problem. My One, this thing fell once and the lens got all scratched up. It's almost kind of hard to even use now, and you can't protect the lens or cover them with anything. Like I'm going back to this one now. The 7, I have a plastic cover over this one, so it'll be better. So now we're back to audio issues once you put this thing inside the plastic condom.
Yep. And that actually brings up a point. Someone was asking me on Instagram about durability. And unfortunately, any 360 camera is going to be a problem because you have these giant lenses that stick out to the side. And, you know, as soon as anything touches it, it will get scratched up. It'll get gnarred up. There's only so much companies can do about that. It really is not something I can fault on them currently.
Right.
I do want to see them at the very least bring out a good case. Like, you know, they've have a few options right now. They have like the diving case and whatnot. I would like to see them bring out kind of a open air case that like the microphone's exposed, but the lenses are securely covered, because I'd rather replace a $50 case.
Yeah, exactly.
And have zero downtime and just have a couple on hand. You know, like I've scratched one, I pull out the other one, slap it on and keep going.
Right.
Versus scratching a lens, having to send it to get repaired and then coming back in. I do have to say that one thing I have to give to the Garmin Verb 360, you can swap the lenses out, and the lens kits cost $50. And like, that is such a clutch thing. Like, that is genius. Yeah. And I think that should be a standard feature on all 360 cameras.
I agree.
Just the nature of the lenses sticking out like that.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And you can't just cover it with tape. You can't just cover it with plastic. But I think it would be cool if it had like a small little, almost like a, you know, little cover just for the lens. Just that's all I really care about. I'm not looking to put this underneath the water or anything like that. I just want to protect this thing. But
exactly.
What are you going to do? Everything's got its thing. I just like that would render it unusable. That's why I'm kind of stressing that part so much, because when that goes, your camera's your SOL. I mean, that's it. You have no camera anymore, so you can't even get around it. I have been trying to buff the lens to get this scratch out, just to try to do it. I've got a little bit of toothpaste, got a little bit of compound from the car to clean it up, and I'll keep working on it. But
unfortunately, just the more you try to polish it, the more it's going to mess up the lens. It's actually better to just leave it alone, because it's like if you scratched, like you wear glasses, right?
Yeah.
So if you scratch the lens right in front of where your iris is, if you start buffing it down with toothpaste and everything, is it going to be clear?
Well, I mean, it does actually. I mean, look, I put the buffing wheel on the drill press and I kept on spinning. I mean, the toothpaste is known for taking scratches out, actually. So it should. Yeah. I mean, look, it will actually be used to take scratches out of lenses and glasses, actually. So it's a very, very mild abrasive. So no, it won't continue to scratch. It'll make it better, but these scratches are kind of deep where I'm going to have to basically go through like a gallon of toothpaste to kind of bring this back to life. I just started messing with it. It'll be minty fresh. Yeah. I just started doing it when I had this one anyway. But I want to, we're almost up at an hour over here. So let me just kind of reel this back in for us a little bit and talk about my 2 cents. And Joseph, I'd love yours as well on who the camera's for and that type of thing. Now, look, if you just want to go out and record straight on, keep it simple footage. Okay, get yourself any respectable action camera. Okay, I'm certainly partial to the GoPros because I really heavily have to rely on these things. So I want to go with a brand that's been around for a while. But if you just want to go and record your kid's dance recital and just plug something on, just go. you really can't beat these things. I don't want to say you can't get creative. That's ridiculous. You can get incredibly creative with these, but you are only going to get what's in front of you, and you're going to be limited. I can't really compare a GoPro to a 360 camera because how do I do that? Because once I get into the 360 world, this has nothing to talk about anymore. So I would say if you're just shooting regular stuff, okay, maybe you want to go with this, but I've been more and more impressed with how this Insta360 ONE X camera can take just regular straight on footage and not look all fish-eyed and crazy. So this is kind of coming around. Like Manny, when you're asking about the video quality is pretty damn good. I mean, really pretty damn good. And the straight, like, point and shoot type of stuff is looking really good too. The trees aren't all bent and screwed up. So if you want to have a little bit more fun and get a little more creative, I can't recommend this anymore. I mean, I've already got friends that bought it, and I will continue to push it, and hopefully more will buy it. I'm incredibly impressed with what Insta360 did with this X version of their camera.
Definitely. Like you said, everyone knows and loves GoPros. It's easy. You press the button, you point it towards what you want to film. A lot of the new ones have screens on the back, so you can even actually see for a change what you're doing. Where the 360 cameras take off is the idea, as you said, you literally just turn it on, and as long as the lens has line of sight with whatever you want to record, it's going to catch it. And, you take it to your daughter's recital, you're going to be able to capture your daughter and then be able to pan over to your family member's reaction when, the audience lights up, when they hit that perfect note. And then also it allows you very creative freedoms of how to record things. So why I always recommend the Insta360 over other cameras is because it's usually the cheapest option, especially considering the quality and the features. And even if like you kind of just want to experiment with 360 footage, and you really can't bring yourself to spend the $400, which is pretty good considering what you got. And I've played with basically every 360 camera on the market through either buying it or having creators let me borrow theirs. But let's see, how much is the Insta360 ONE? I want to see what the current one is because okay, so it's $220.
It's also still a very good camera.
Very good camera. That instead of 5.7K, you're going to get 4K. It's not going to be like something you can blow up to like a full-size plasma TV, but for sharing on Facebook and Instagram, just to play around with 360, I would recommend the Insta360 ONE. And then have that as a spare camera if you decide to get the ONE X, because it's actually, I still have mine. And when I want to try a creative shot, but I don't want to risk one of my nicer cameras, I use the Insta360 ONE. And, if that breaks, yes, I just blew $220, but I didn't blow $400 on trying to get a shot.
Well, and the other thing too, I'll kind of toss in there is if you do already have a regular straight out, GoPro action camera type of thing, then definitely maybe look into just getting the ONE for the extra cool footage. I'll give you a really good example. You take one of these guys and you put it on the trail like this, and now you've got the video of you coming into the berm, around the berm, and out of the berm. So you literally have this camera guy following you around. You could take some really cool shots with this thing that you just can't do without having a 360-degree camera. So you can use the 360 camera if you want to enhance the video in general. But I've got to be honest, this thing is getting to be more and more of my primary camera now. Once I get my video footage editing skills to where I need to be, I can tell you that I probably will use this more than my GoPro, because I can still tell the story I want to tell with this camera and get extra footage out of it. And I got to be honest, folks, I got to start simplifying things. And I'd rather have this and have everything with me and take all the stuff with it than have to have, I probably would just have this, just two things with me. One, just like hand it to someone, and that's going to be about it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I want to stress again is that I've often heard people say like, "Well, I don't want a 360 camera because there's still lens distortion. There's still this. I don't like the quality. I don't disagree, but it is a tool in the toolbox. There are times where I'll reach for my GH5 because that's the shot that I need to get, or I'll use my GoPro. But a 360 camera allows you that extra layer of creativity, so it makes an excellent complement to a traditional camera.
True, 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 true. All right, folks, that's going to take us to a nice solid hour of babbling about cool 360 cameras. I want to thank Joseph, Mr. Trail Features, for joining us tonight. Thank you very much for being on the show and helping with the tech portion of this presentation today.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me on. Sorry for the delayed start, but glad we were able to get it done.
Yep, no problem. And since now I know how to do this, let's go out of here with style. All right. Yes, indeed. Another regular guy mountain biking podcast, VCast, all kinds of just don't break your arm cast. Hope you had fun, folks, on this show. Thank you again, Rob, for making that music for me. Thank you so much, Joseph, for being on the show. Thank you all you folks for tuning in and having some fun with me tonight and my buddy. And keep the party on the pedals. We will see you real soon in another video. Have a good weekend. Catch you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.